So I use a ton of automated messages for my Turo business. I have 7 different cars, and here's all the different messages that I have. Almost all of these are actually scheduled. And the great thing about automated messages, the best thing is that it'll save you a lot of your time. But another great thing is it actually makes your customer service much better. You'll get better reviews. Your guests will like you more, even though you're not really doing anything. And it's really just a win-win. Even if you only have one car on Turo, I would definitely recommend using this. So I'm going to go over all the messages that I use. And I use CarSync. I was using these on CarSync before Turo came out with their own automated messaging system. I think pretty much everything I do on CarSync you can do on Turo, it looks like. Pretty sure when Turo first came out with the messages, you couldn't only do messages for like specific cars, but it looks like you can do that now. I think there might still be more options with CarSync and it might be easier. So like right here, you can actually add in like the renter's name. This thing here, it'll automatically put the renter's first name for all the different ones. So it'll call them by name, even though it's automated, which is really awesome. So anyway, the first message I send out here is just a welcome message. It says, hey, renter's first name, thanks for renting from me, smiley face. Car will be located near blah, 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 an address. The key will be left in a lockbox for you. I'll let you know the exact location of the car and how to get the key before the start time of your trip. Let me know if you have any questions. This gets sent 20 seconds after the reservation is booked. You can schedule these in seconds, minutes, hours, or days. You can do after or before. Reservations requested, reservations booked, reservation starts, halfway point, 3/4 point, or reservation ends. So a lot of options there. For conditions, you can do only specific cars if you don't want to have them sent to like all the cars. You can do only the delivery at specific locations. Wow, they have way more options on here than Turo, I'm pretty sure. You can do only if like your trip is a certain number of days. I've never even looked at these before, to be honest, but you can go crazy with these. You can even have it automatically upload photos into the trip section. But say that stuff, and then this is something that I've found very important because I have it so people can book my cars with 3 hours notice, but I don't want them. I also have it so people can start their trip at 8 a.m. But I've had it before where people have booked a trip while I'm sleeping and then showed up at 8 a.m. So I have a message explaining like, hey, if you book, a trip and if you book a trip after 11 p.m. and your trip is starting before 11 a.m. the next day, you need to change it because I might not have enough time to get the car ready for you. Because I don't want that to happen. That's the last thing I want to happen is somebody showing up and not being able to get their car. It's just terrible customer service. And additional driver. This is one thing I learned. I learned a couple things from watching YouTube videos that I added into my messages. Anything that people ask you, like questions that people ask you frequently, put it in an automated message. Like treat it as a FAQ, like an FAQ. It will save you so much time. So this explains to people. It gets sent a minute after the reservation is booked, so pretty much right after that first one. It says you have to be present when picking up or dropping off the car, no exceptions. You can, however, add an additional driver. Here's a link explaining how. This is one thing, you really want to make your messages like as short as you possibly can make them but still having all the info they need. Because the longer they are, just the less likely people are going to read them. And if you can just have a link or a video that explains how, do that instead of writing like an essay. They have another message explaining how I charge for bridge tolls and how that works because everyone asks me that, so it saves me a lot of hassle. And some people will still ask you the same questions after this. It's just part of the business. It's all right. But most people won't. I think a lot of them read this. I have another thing explaining how the delivery works. I explain my location, how far I am from the airport, how far I am from the train stations. I recommend people just take an Uber or Lyft though. And I explain that I do delivery, but it costs extra. And I say I do not deliver to San Francisco airport because people sometimes ask me that. And then I had a separate one delivery thing that I was doing only for my Mini Cooper, but I'm not doing now. And that was just because I was messing around with offering free delivery for trips that were 7 days or longer. So I had different stuff explaining that, but I'm not doing that now. So there's one cool thing about CarSync, at least. I don't know if you can do this on Turo, but you can save a message and just click do not schedule, and then you can just save it for later or whenever you want to use it. Like I have this message here just for when I'm traveling, and I can uncheck that when if I'm traveling. It just explains that my friend is taking care of my business, and it has his direct phone number on there as well. This is a message that everybody should use, is, you know, if you're doing like contactless pickup. This tells people how to upload, or that they need to upload the the selfie picture and the close-up of their license. And it's a lot easier now because they can just text it to you like in the messaging, which is much better. And I have this scheduled for 23 hours before the reservation starts, so the start time of their trip. Very important that you don't want to schedule that more than 24 hours before, because if they upload their pictures 25 hours before the trip starts and you don't check their license in person, and say they get in an accident with your car, Turo is not going to cover that. They have to upload the pictures within 24 hours before it starts, not more than 24 hours. And this one I made here, this message, this is so I can schedule like an automated message to send some, like to tell them the code for the lockbox and the exact address the car is going to be located. If, say, I anticipate that I might be going to an area where I'm not going to get cell phone reception, or if I might be in an airplane or something like that, I can automate that message for that one-time thing for when they're picking up the car. I've only used this like once or twice, but that is a way that you can do that. This message here, I don't want to click on it because it has my exact address and phone number, but it just says if they can't get a hold of me, it has my address and it says, hey, just come knock on my front door. Here's my phone number. You can reach me directly at that number. These messages save me so much time for my Priuses. If you've ever had a Prius or like maybe other hybrids, a lot of times when you start the car, the engine won't turn on. A lot of people were confused thinking that the car didn't start and I'd have to come out and show them how. Since I send these messages, I haven't had to show anybody how to start those cars. It just explains that it can be silent, and it explains that as long as the word ready is on the dashboard, the car is fully started. I had so many problems with people just not thinking the Priuses were started. And I send out messages. I just say, here's a video how to connect your phone to the Bluetooth. They're different for different cars. You can just find good tutorials on YouTube that show people how to do that. They're like a minute or two long, and I just leave a link for the video. Very simple. I have one for the Civic, one for the Mini Cooper. My older cars have aftermarket stereos, so the Bluetooth is much easier to connect to, so I actually don't send videos for those. I have a message just asking people to please be careful when parking one of my cars, not to scrape the nice rims that are on it. Telling them a trick you can do is to lower down the side mirror to look at the curb. I mean, they still get scraped up quite a bit, but it probably helps. This is like the kind of the same for my other Priuses, telling them how to start them, and telling them this one has a wireless key, so telling them how that works. Prius C Bluetooth. This one I got rid of because I added this halfway message instead that I'll show in a second. This one's only gets sent from my Honda Pilot. The seats in that car stain so easily, so I just ask people to please be careful, and I just tell them if there's, you know, excessive stains or pet fur or anything, you'll be charged extra for it. The car has third row seats. It's just a real pain to clean out, and it tends to get dirtier than other cars because, you know, people are renting it to fit a lot of people in it. This halfway check-in one is great. I got the idea from somebody else I saw on YouTube or something, but I just say, hey, how is your trip going? And I have it just sent at the after the 0 seconds, so right at the halfway point of the trip. Hey, how's your trip going? I hope you're loving the car. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you or anything I can improve on to make sure you have a 5-star experience. And I really like that line right there. I think I might have got that from a guy that works at Turo who I had like a one-on-one phone call with him, and he does like webinars and stuff for Power Host that show people tips and stuff. I think his name was Will, I'm pretty sure. I think I got that line from him, like to make sure you have a 5-star experience. I love that line. And a lot of people, they like to ask guests to give them reviews at the end of the trip. I really don't like to do that. I get so many good reviews anyway. I think it's unnecessary, and I actually think that that's bad customer service. I hate being bothered to like write reviews. I think it's really annoying. Like when you go into apps, you know, they try to get your review and you have to click by it. It's so annoying. Like if somebody wants to write your review, they have a great experience, they will. And I think asking people to write reviews, it might even encourage people that will, you know, maybe they had like a 4-star experience. It might even encourage people like that to write a review when they wouldn't have anyway. So I think that's just pointless. But I think saying something like that, you know, what can I do to get you that 5-star experience is great. That's going to encourage people to leave your review anyway without actually asking them, most likely. And this line I added in, if you notice anything wrong with the car, parentheses, such as maintenance that may require attention, please let me know so that I can fix it as quickly as possible. That I made because I got this really bad review from someone where they never told me about the problem. They just wrote a bad review that said the brakes on the car were squeaking the whole time. I drove the car before and after a trip, and they were not squeaking either of those times. And she never told me about it. And it's like, hey, if there's a problem, you have to tell me. Like, I don't drive these cars very much, so I'm not going to notice something that somebody who's, you know, going on a road trip with it is. And this right here too, it's just going to give your guests confidence that you take good care of your cars too. Like, hey, if there's something wrong with it, I want to know so I can fix it. So not only does it really help me out, but it's going to give the guest confidence that you take care of your cars and that you care about the safety of your cars too. So I would recommend doing that, especially if you have older cars like I do. This is one I kind of encourage people to not fill up the gas tank, but I tell them how the fees work as well. So I live like 2 blocks from a gas station, so I'll gladly make $10 extra profit just to go fill up the gas tank. I make extra money doing that. So I say, feel free to extend the trip if you need the car longer, in parentheses, as long as it's available. Extensions are great. Like, I love it when people extend their trips. More money, and I don't have to do any more work. It's fine to return the car without the gas tank filled up. If you do, you'll get charged for the gas plus a $10 convenience fee. And that way, you know, you always get somebody, you charge them for the gas and they bitch about it. This way I can point like, hey, I sent you this message already explaining the fees. Can't really get mad. And I said there are 2 gas stations very close to the return location. Please don't fill the tank up at a gas station that is far away. If it costs me more than $5 to fill up the tank, I will charge you for it. And I actually think that this message here cut down on people bringing the tank like slightly low a lot. After I wrote this message and automated it, I got way less, because you've probably had this where somebody will bring it and the gas tank is just slightly less than full and it costs you like $7 to fill it up. And then you charge them and they get angry, and it's like, how far away did you gas stations you fill it up? Like, the tank was completely full when I gave it to you. Like, that's really not cool. So I think this message cut down on that a lot. I'd recommend using that one. Tell people how to return the cars. These are just so important, because if I don't use these automated messages telling people how to return the cars, I would just kind of forget about these a lot. Especially like sometimes I'm not always checking my phone. Say they return a car early or something, I might not be able to get back to them. So this way they don't need me to be paying attention to my phone at all to be able to return the car. Just tells them where to park it. It says, sometimes when they pick up the car, I might be blocking my driveway or parked in my neighbor's driveway, blocking their car. They let me use their driveway. I tell people, hey, don't block anybody's driveway, even if you pick the car up like that. Careful to street sweeping Thursday and Friday. And I just tell them, like use some capitals here. I have problems with people just not using the lock boxes correctly sometimes. I tell them lock the key in the lockbox, put it in the glove compartment, lock all of the car doors. I have spare keys. Scramble the combo. Some people would put the key in the lockbox and then not scramble the combo to lock the lockbox. Like, some people are just freaking weird. Definitely helped with people returning it and locking the key properly. Still, sometimes people screw it up every once in a while, but that definitely helped cut down on that. And then I have different messages to explain how to return different cars, because some of the cars that have the key fobs where you need to put the key in the thing that like blocks it, like my Priuses, you have to put the key in the thing that blocks the signal, or the car actually will not let you lock it, because the car will know that the key is in the car. It won't let you lock the key in the car. So I have that explaining for that. With my Mini Cooper, with that one, I tell them to, with that one I use a Viper Smart Start that lets me lock and unlock the car remotely from my phone. But with the Mini, if you don't have the key, you actually can't lock the doors like yourself for some reason. It's kind of weird. So I tell them to message me, let me know when they returned it, and I'll lock it with my phone. And I tell them, hey, don't wait around to hear back from me. Like if you're waiting, I tell them don't wait around to make sure I lock the doors, because it's bad customer service. I'm not always paying attention to my phone when people return the car. It's fine if they just leave it in there, the key's in the lockbox with the doors unlocked. When I see the message, I'll get to it and lock it. So I just let people know, don't wait around. I have different messages for airport return. So this one I like. It's telling, like, sometimes I might just forget that if it's delivery, I don't do them very often. Sometimes I forget to, that there's a delivery when, not for the drop off, but for the end of the trip, for the pickup. So I tell them, hey, if I'm not answering my phone, you can't get a hold of me. I just tell them how they can park it and just leave the key like in the lockbox and everything. So there's no issues there. And that's pretty much it. I just have different delivery return and return messages for like all these different cars here. I don't want to click on all of them because my home address is on some of them, and that involves more editing in the video. So it's pretty much everything there. I would recommend using CarSync, to be honest. So yeah, CarSync has a bunch of other cool stuff too. They have a lot of analytical data, which is great. And I have another video going over CarSync, but my favorite thing is the bridge toll, like toll reimbursements. They automate all that. Where I live, we're just surrounded by bridge tolls. So, I was having to manually charge for like hundreds of bridge tolls every month. So this is amazing. And CarSync is totally free too. And I think their message templates have more fine tuning than Turo. So if you need that, I'd recommend just using CarSync.